This is the Bartholomew Town Podcast.
Hi, everyone. Welcome into another edition of the Bartholomew Town Podcast. It's Bill Bartholomew here with you. Hopefully, you're having a spectacular day and enjoying the wonderful Rhode Island summer, or wherever you're listening right now. Today, we welcome in an interesting conversation on the Nonprofit Innovation Lab. This is a two-part episode. In the first part, we're going to hear from Courtney Nicolato, the president and CEO of the United Way of Rhode Island, and Constance Ferber, the senior manager for strategic initiatives at the Social Enterprise Greenhouse. And then in the second half of the episode, we'll hear from two nonprofits who are involved in the Innovation Lab, Providence Preservation Society and What Cheer Flower Farm. Remember, folks, support for the independent journalism, opinion, analysis, and entertainment that the Bartholomew Town Podcast provides Rhode Island and beyond, well, it comes from you. And you can send a one-time donation to Venmo at Bill Bartholomew or PayPal.me/Bill Bartholomew, or become a sustaining member for as little as $3 per month. Simply head to patreon.com/BartholomewTown. That's patreon.com/BartholomewTown. By the way, if you go to that $10 per month support level on Patreon, you'll receive exclusive content, and no matter what support level you go to, you'll be helping to build the bedrock, the foundation of Rhode Island's podcast of record right here, B-Town. And thanks to all of you out there who have already contributed. It means a lot, and it really honestly keeps the wheels turning here on this project. Now, well over 300 episodes into season 4, and boy, I've said it before and I'll say it again, we are gearing up for a big 2022. In fact, I'm going to be taking normally, and I say normally as in the last 3 years of doing this, but I take a few weeks off at the end of August, kind of resume after Labor Day with episodes. And during that time, I say take a few days off. I'm a few weeks off. I'll be basically rebuilding the podcast from, some of the music and the format of the show a little bit, kind of trying out some new ideas, gearing up for 2022 when we are going to be quadrupling down on our coverage of the election and all things Rhode Island, frankly. But we've got a lot in store for you, live events, obviously the podcast, social media stuff, and even more. I'm very excited about it. And hey, hopefully you're here along for the ride as we enter the 2022 election here in Rhode Island. And that's where this all began back in the 2018 election for me. That's really where I cut my teeth as a broadcaster and a journalist. And ever since then, we have been on this journey together. So without further ado, part one of our two-part conversation here in this one episode today on the Nonprofit Innovation Lab will begin with Courtney Nicolato of the United Way and Constance Ferber of the Social Enterprise Greenhouse. Okay, so nonprofit innovation is something that we've kind of touched on actually in a previous episode here, Courtney, and just in the sense of how much the nonprofit sector makes up the workforce here in Rhode Island, and that's a critical thing. But we're seeing sort of a renewed emphasis on nonprofits. Both, we've got this, I don't know how you describe it, sort of rewards program that Governor McKee came up with if you get vaccinated. But just in general, what nonprofits were able to accomplish during the pandemic here in Rhode Island. So I guess let's talk about the specifics of the innovation efforts and the program and kind of just take us through what your role is here in all of this.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we're so excited to launch the second nonprofit cohort of the Nonprofit Innovation Lab. But, backing up a little bit, I think it's important to note, and I say this all the time and it goes without saying, but I feel a need to say it. Nonprofit organizations are mission-driven businesses. And we make up 18% of the workforce here in the state of Rhode Island. That's 70,000 employees. The challenges remain is that as business entrepreneurs, social innovators, you name it, we don't get the tools and resources that our for-profit partners get, right? But there's really, really cool things happening. And nonprofit organizations are diversifying their revenue portfolios as a result. That's what we want any business to do. But we got to arm our nonprofit partners with the right tools and resources, mentorship, and that type of those assets that so that they can take their ideas and make them into fruition. And last year, our Nonprofit Innovation Lab did exactly that. Our 10 organizations that went through the Nonprofit Innovation Lab last year, many of them have received additional resources, additional grants, additional income opportunities. They are building new coffee houses. They are building new hydroponic gardens. They are putting all of those dollars back into fueling and funding the missions of their organization. That's when nonprofit organizations thrive. Yes, donor dollars are critically important. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say it was, but it can't be just that. And the Nonprofit Innovation Lab, we're so proud at the United Way to partner with the Social Enterprise Greenhouse to deliver these critical tools to organizations throughout our state.
Constance, take us through some of the I guess inside baseball of the process here, and we're gonna, in the second half of this episode, we're gonna hear from some of the nonprofits that have gone through the Innovation Lab and so forth. But take us through the process of how a nonprofit gets involved. What exactly is the Innovation Lab, I guess?
Yeah, so I'd say it's broken down to 3 parts. After the whole application process and the selection process, we have the boot camp component, which is a curriculum that really helps them develop and define their ideas. You know, we go through activities around testing assumptions, cost benefit analysis, and really getting them comfortable with learning and adapting from new discoveries. And then the second part is the milestone component. And that is where each fellow is matched with 3 to 4 experts and coaches, and they work really closely with them for 3 months on their nonprofit innovation idea. And they're sort of matched based on the gaps or needs that they've identified for themselves in their project. And then the final component of the program is a really big pitch event where the fellows pitch their ideas to a select group of judges and the public for a chance to win $90,000 in prize money.
What is the biggest need that nonprofits generally have been facing right now? I mean, donors may have been reluctant to donate given the situation of the last year. You know, it's been tight for a lot of people, even with various grants and so forth. But what's the biggest need right now on the ground?
There's a couple. I think one, the Rhode Island community has been incredibly generous, I would say, to organizations who were directly supporting COVID-19. So we had a lot of our organizations who are still doing incredible work, but maybe wasn't providing, that type of disaster relief or, relief on site for the basic needs that need to be supported and have struggled through COVID-19. Also, many of our organizations are just starting to think about events, which is a critical part of their fundraising strategies each year. And we're grateful that that's starting back up, but that means they had 18 months without that revenue. I would say the other thing that's been critical is volunteers, and specifically thinking about, I always say it's about your time, your talent, and your treasure. And it has to be all 3 of those. As a citizen of Rhode Island, I firmly believe you should be giving all 3 of those to your communities. And talent is really important. We need folks who are marketing professionals to be contributing their talents to nonprofit organizations, because nonprofit organizations may not have that talent in-house. What I love about the Social Enterprise Greenhouse and the work that we do through the Nonprofit Innovation Lab is that we connect those mentors to these organizations based on what those needs are. We're not just throwing great volunteers their way. We're saying, hey, you know what? Based on what we understand, marketing is critically important, or a financial advisor is really important to you as this, helping to really build your business plan. You need a strategy person or an entrepreneur. And so we provide those connections to folks. And those are what are invaluable, I think, to this tool, because those are relationships that those organizations have for life, not just today. And so that's what organizations need. And so oftentimes I will say, if there's an organization in your community, call them, say, what can I do? How can I help? This is what I do for a living. This is how I think I can be helpful. And whether that's stacking boxes or providing your professional expertise, all is needed right now.
As I mentioned, we're going to hear from some of this year's, the previous iteration of the Nonprofit Innovation Lab coming up in the second half of this episode. What about for the next iteration? What should nonprofits know about getting involved?
Constance, you want to share?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think reach out to us. We're so excited to, work with anyone. And if, the Nonprofit Innovation Lab isn't the right fit, we have tools and resources both at SEG and United Way. And we're just very eager to support. So just reach out.
Last question, I guess, for each of you. What sort of nonprofits does Rhode Island have a deficiency of at this point? We have so many nonprofits here. If someone has an idea, we know, I mean, it could be anyone from a student at College Unbound who's doing a project to somebody who has more of a philanthropy-oriented goal. What do we need in terms of a specific sector or goal, if you will, from the nonprofit sector right now?
Yeah, I think that there's, we're very blessed in our community, have a wealth of nonprofit organizations who are serving either a specific community or a specific population, whatever it might be. I do think that it's our moral imperative within the nonprofit sector to boost leadership of our Black and Brown community members into the nonprofit sector. I think the last number I checked was there was 3% of nonprofit leaders were leaders of color, and 10% of board members throughout the community are board members of color. Not enough, not okay. We need to do a better job. And so we have other programs through our Executive Directors Leadership Circle where we're supporting smaller nonprofit leaders, many leaders of color, in really growing and building leadership development opportunities and connections within the community. We have to do more and we have to do a better job. And so while I think the sector is pretty diverse in who it serves and how it serves, I think we have some work to really build up and best support our community members of color.
Yeah, I second what Courtney said. And just to add, I think there's also just so many opportunities for partnership and sort of connecting organizations that are doing similar work and getting folks really to work together to work on their missions.
Hey, give me a follow on Twitter and Instagram and join the Bartholomew Town Podcast Facebook group. A great way that you can support Bartholomew Town is to subscribe, rate, and review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening right now. Okay, joining us now from What Cheer Flower Farm, Destiny Vitale, and from the Providence Preservation Society, Brent Runyon. Okay, so discussing the Nonprofit Innovation Lab with a few people who are in the thick of it, who have gone through it, going through it. And we welcome Destiny and Brent. Destiny of What Cheer Flower Farm, Brent of the Providence Preservation Society. And let's get into the thick of it. What's this experience been like for each of you, start to finish? How did you get involved? What is it?
Well, I mean, I'm thinking of it as like a mini MBA. It's like an intensive 12-week program where they hook you up with experts from a diversity of fields and really just stuff your head full of knowledge you would normally take years to gain.
Very fascinating. That's kind of exactly what it seems like. It's like a boot camp, literally, for building a nonprofit. Destiny, your experience inside the Innovation Lab.
Well, it's been really intense. I just started this position in February. And so I moved to Rhode Island in 2019. And so it's been really helpful for me to kind of learn the Rhode Island landscape. And the boot camp has been really helpful where I've been able to meet other executive directors and nonprofit leaders in like a concentrated kind of classroom setting. And we're kind of all going through this intense educational experience together, which is something that is rare because this work can be very isolating.
Yeah, of course. And it's also, here in Rhode Island, there are a ton of nonprofits. It makes up a considerable chunk of our employment base. And it's tough to find your niche and your moment in terms of nonprofits here in the state, and also to find your money. Do you get the sense that you're better prepared now to do all of those things, to find who you need to serve and have a more, from a business operational standpoint, be in better shape going forward?
Absolutely. Because of COVID, it's almost like, even though I moved here in 2019, like I was kind of out a whole year, and I think everyone was kind of, so to have this experience at this like point is very valuable, specifically for someone like me, because all of the members of the cohort bring so much knowledge, and it's nice to be able to kind of tap that in such a supportive environment. Like, we're competing, but not really. So it makes it very, very valuable in that regard.
Yeah, well, competition is an important thing. It's something that I think Rhode Island should have more of, more people in similar sectors who not trying to squash each other, but push each other. And when we talk about growing Rhode Island, I think that's something that it's here, but is not at the level that it should be. It sounds like the Innovation Lab gives you a chance to compete in that productive sense, if you will.
Yeah, I think that's right. And, the great thing about Providence and Rhode Island is we all are collaborative. We all work with each other, and we're all for the community. And so this is just another example of people really boosting each other, and we want each other to succeed. And, going back to your earlier question, unlike What's Your Flower Farm, which is relatively young, Providence Preservation Society is nearly 70 years old, really entrenched people. We have the things that we do. And, in nonprofits, once you do something for a long time, it's like turning an ocean liner. And so this is an opportunity for us to really think about a new relevant, program that we hope will, be like a social enterprise, more business minded than just nonprofit, really helping us think through a business plan, which is not something a lot of nonprofit directors are able to do.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Invaluable experience.
What exactly does the Providence Preservation Society do? It's a name that is kind of a household name for people who pay attention to things here, but what exactly is your work?
Yeah, so we're an advocacy organization. We work to preserve the great old buildings that Providence has, the great architecture. And as part of that, we do a ton of educational programming. We always have, and that takes a lot of different forms. Of course, you live in Elmwood, I think, down somewhere in the South Side.
Yep.
So I pay attention to your Twitter feed, so I can tell sort of where you live. But I think the benefits of historic preservation have not been evenly spread throughout the city, and there are obviously adverse effects of historic preservation, but certainly there are a lot of benefits, and that's where we want to try to take a new kind of anti-racist slant to the work that we do, and understand that better, how to get those benefits out to a broader cross section of our community.
Yeah, that's incredible, especially when you consider West Elmwood, and this is getting into the minutia, but you're exactly right that the benefits of preserving buildings in South Providence as a whole is definitely less than what you see on Benefit Street. There's no doubt about it. So that's awesome that's an angle that you're correcting.
Yeah, I mean, there's a racist history of planning and preservation throughout the decades, and that's something that we're really working to kind of reverse. And it's going to take time. Obviously, it's not overnight, but we have to acknowledge it, and we have to work to reverse it.
I'm curious about What's Your Flower Farm. I gave your site a gander. I guess explain it in detail and sort of what direction you're heading in.
Yeah, so we're relatively new. We started in 2017, officially a nonprofit in 2018. We are a urban flower farm in Olneyville. We have approximately 2.7 acres in Olneyville, which is, we're on a Brownsville site. So in addition to rehabilitating the property that we own, we also give away flowers. We grow them on site. We also glean flowers. We also repurpose flowers. And so our mission is to give away flowers to Rhode Islanders in stressful or vulnerable situations. So we go to food shelves. We go to senior centers. Because of COVID, a lot of our flowers have been given away to senior centers. Rhode Island Veterans Home, Weber Renew, PACE organization. We literally touch every aspect of the state. And since February, we've given away 30,000 flowers. And so, and we have a staff of 2. So we've been quite busy. And, we have a small but mighty team of volunteers. But we are looking to grow, and we are looking to really rehabilitate our land in the next few years. However, our innovation idea is a bit different. We are looking to really entrench ourselves into the neighborhood of Olneyville. Even though we're here, most people don't know that we're here. And so we are looking to partner with schools in the area to bring flowers into the schools to use as innovation, classroom counting, stress relief. What we have been overlooking are the children. We give flowers to adults, but if the adults in the neighborhood are under stress, the children are also under stress. And flowers are a great way to kind of distress situations, and the kids will get a chance to bring the bouquets home. So
that's awesome. What a world, it's so good in all the negativity that, especially from like a statewide or regional audience, that people shine on Providence, it's just a violent, someone's going to jump out of a dumpster and like mug you if you happen to pull into downtown Providence. Like wake up, people. This is happening simultaneously, the work that you two are doing. And, do you feel like the state of Rhode Island knows that the type of work that each of you are doing is taking place, or like it seems like people's morale and general optimism would go up if they knew that this type of stuff was happening? Do you feel like it's getting out there enough?
Well, so the work we're doing actually through the Innovation Lab is about training people to work on these old houses. And we received a grant through the Department of Labor and Training last year. So certainly there's some people at the state who are aware of this. And I think they find it appealing because there are a lot of construction trades training programs in the state, but none of them have curriculum devoted to the old houses. And there more than 75% of the residential buildings in Providence are built prior to World War II. And no one's training people. And the older guys who know how to do this work are retiring. And so there's a certain, it's sort of like it's a difficult kind of niche industry to prove demand for. We know about it because we get calls every day. How do I find somebody to do this or that? So that the state's interested in it through the labor and training section. But, we're still trying to make the case for it. So, it's interesting to people, especially that everyone lives in old buildings almost, if you live in Providence. Still trying to get the word out. And people think of us in a different way, not as doing that kind of training for people. And we're focused on unemployed, underemployed people in the Providence metro area. And, there are a ton of those people as well. So we think this is going to show a little bit more relevancy for the preservation sector than maybe some of our other work does.
And Destiny, the same question. Is it getting out there?
No. It's starting. It's one of my goals to kind of push us more to the forefront, because when people do find out that we give flowers free to nonprofits, or they could come and volunteer at the farm, I mean, they are ecstatic. They are behind the mission. There's this momentum. I have volunteers right now that are in there in the barn making bouquets, and I have organizations emailing me, hey, can we get flowers for this? Oh, we can really use flowers for this event. But once people find out, they're excited. They're really excited. So it's just to kind of let the community know and the state know that this is available for anyone in the state, any nonprofit in the state that is looking for a bit of cheer for their clients.
Yeah. Well, appreciate your work very much, both of you. And thanks for hopping on this and spreading the word of the Innovation Lab. It's great. It's I don't know. I after the last year of it's such a generic statement, but after the last year of everything we've been through, it's so good to highlight things that are moving forward and changing, even as you say, steering an ocean liner. Sometimes it's like steering an ocean liner in a canal, basically.
Oh, well, we know how that works out sometimes.
Yeah.
Rhode Island's podcast of record, B-Town.
At HealthSource RI for Employers, we provide access to health insurance to more than 1,100 local businesses and nonprofits, and 96% of them renew through us every year. Maybe it's our choice of 19 different health plans, our 10 years of customizing solutions, or our one local team of dedicated experts helping employers find quality health insurance. See how our numbers stack up for you. Learn more at healthsourceri.com/employers.